All right, let's dive in. We all know that AI models are the product, right? But what's the factory that actually builds them? Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the invisible machinery that makes it all possible, a really powerful software pattern called the Kubernetes operator. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big picture problem, then we'll drill down into the really nitty-gritty technical solution, and then we'll zoom right back out to see how it's all being used and, what the future holds. Okay, section 1, the AI factory problem. Look, we are in a massive AI boom, but all that intelligence has to be manufactured somewhere. And here's the catch. The standard toolkit we use for building modern software, well, it has a critical flaw when it comes to the unique demands of AI. And that brings up a really central question, doesn't it? We see the amazing final products of AI every day, but how are they actually made? The answer, almost always, involves a platform called Kubernetes. And that right there is where the trouble begins. Which brings us to section 2, Kubernetes stateful challenge. You see, Kubernetes was originally designed for a very specific type of application. But AI workloads, they're a completely different beast. They just break all the original rules. This slide just nails the core problem. Over on the left, you've got stateless apps. Kubernetes treats these like interchangeable fast food workers. If one fails, who cares? You just swap in a new one. Easy. Kubernetes was born for this. But on the right, you have stateful AI. Now, this is more like a specialized surgeon. It has a unique identity, it needs its specific tools, its data, and it has to follow a very precise procedure. And Kubernetes, well, it really wasn't built. Let's get a little more specific. Stateful AI demands 3 key things that Kubernetes doesn't naturally provide. First, you need persistent storage that actually sticks to a process, even if it restarts. This is absolutely crucial for saving model checkpoints during training. Second, you need a stable network identity, so all the different parts of a huge distributed job can always find each other. And third, you need ordered operations, because you can't just randomly scale things up or down. It has to happen in a specific sequence to avoid total chaos. So how in the world do we solve this? Well, that brings us to section 3, and the real hero of our story, the Kubernetes operator. Think of it as an expert in a box, designed to capture human knowledge and bake it right into the software. So what is an operator? It's a piece of software that encodes all the complex manual steps a human expert would normally take to manage a tricky application. It automates everything: deployment, upgrades, failure recovery, the whole shebang. It's literally like cloning your best engineer and having them work 24/7 right inside your system. And how does it work? It's actually a pretty simple but incredibly powerful process: the reconciliation loop. The operator is always watching. It observes the live state of your application. It compares that to the ideal state that you've declared. And if there's any difference at all, it acts to fix it. It's this never-ending cycle that just relentlessly forces reality to match your intent. Now, there's one other key piece to this puzzle, and it's called a custom resource definition, or CRD. A CRD literally teaches Kubernetes new words. See, by default, Kubernetes only gets generic tech terms like pods or services. A CRD lets you teach it application-specific concepts, like a PyTorch job. This makes the entire platform smarter and actually aware of what you're trying to accomplish. And here is why this is such a game changer. A data scientist no longer has to be a Kubernetes expert. They can just say, hey, I want a PyTorch job, and the operator handles all the complex, low-level plumbing behind the scenes. This abstraction is huge because it lets them focus on what they do best, building models, not wrestling with infrastructure. Okay, so we know what an operator is. Now for section 4, let's see how they're actually being used out in the wild. And it turns out there are 2 really different competing philosophies for how to build them. This slide lays out the 2 big ideas perfectly. On one side, you have job-scoped operators, like the ones in Kubeflow. Think of this as hiring a temp crew. They show up, they do one specific job, and then poof, they're gone. On the other side, you've got cluster-scoped operators, like Kubre. This is more like building a permanent workshop, a long-lived environment where you can do all sorts of different projects, run services, or just tinker around. So what does that actually mean in practice? Well, this table shows the trade-offs. The temp crew model from Kubeflow is fantastic for those straightforward fire-and-forget training runs. But the permanent workshop model from Kubre is way more flexible. It can handle interactive development and model serving, and it comes with much more powerful features for things like automatic scaling and recovering from failures. And if we peek inside that temp crew model, the Kubeflow training operator actually offers a whole family of specialized tools. It doesn't matter if you're using TensorFlow, PyTorch, or even older HPC frameworks. There is a specific, purpose-built controller designed to manage that job's unique needs. And then over in the permanent workshop camp, the Kubernetes toolkit gives you this really versatile set of building blocks. You start by creating a persistent Ray cluster, and then you can use that same cluster to run your batch jobs, deploy long-running services for inference, or even connect to it for interactive work. It's super flexible. Which brings us to section 5, building your platform. Because here's the thing. An operator, no matter how clever it is still just one piece of the puzzle. It absolutely needs a solid foundation to run on. An operator is not a silver bullet. For it to actually work, it relies on 3 foundational pillars that your platform team has to provide. You need high-performance networking so the system can communicate lightning fast. You need shared storage so everyone can get to the same data. And you need really smart GPU management to make sure that incredibly expensive hardware isn't just sitting around doing nothing. The takeaway here is absolutely crucial. You can't just install an operator and call it a day. Building a production-grade AI platform is a full-stack engineering problem. It requires deep, continuous collaboration between the data scientists who use the platform and the platform engineers who build and maintain all that underlying infrastructure. And finally, let's zoom back out for section 6, the future of orchestration. Now that we have this powerful automation tool, where is all this technology headed next? Well, the next wave of innovation is already here, and it's building directly on top of this operator foundation. We're starting to see much more advanced schedulers for smarter resource sharing, serverless tools that can automatically trigger AI jobs based on events, and even the first hints of using AI to manage the AI infrastructure itself. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating final thought. We use these platforms to build AI. But what happens when the AI platform itself becomes intelligent? When it starts automatically optimizing its own performance, its own cost, its own scheduling? It's a pretty wild idea. So at the end of the day, the conclusion is crystal clear. Choosing the right Kubernetes operator, it isn't just some small technical decision. It's the core strategic choice for building a modern AI factory. It's the key that unlocks the automated, resilient, and scalable platforms that are going to build the intelligence of tomorrow.